Elgacia lore interview with Gold River. Heroes of Arcadia, we invited Gold River, the director of Lost Ark, to go behind the scenes of Elgacia, Lost Ark universe lore, and his passion for crafting new narratives. We'd like to thank Gold River for joining us for the interview found below. Hello, this is Gold River, director of Lost Ark at Smallgate RPG. To begin, let me express my gratitude to all the adventurers who expressed love and support for the Elgacia continent and Kangol Dungeon, which were released in the June update. In many ways, I feel both apologetic and grateful toward the adventurers who wanted to know more about the behind the scenes stories from me. I will answer the questions with all my heart. For someone new or returning to Lost Ark, what is Elgacia? Elgacia, the 14th continent of Lost Ark, is the sky island created by Regulus, the god of order. It is a paradise for Lasniths. Lasniths, the creation of Procyon, the god of honor, are a race who once soared through the sky with their beautiful wings, but they were banished to Elgacia with their wings were torn away for their sin of stealing the Ark. Ever since, Lasniths repented their sins in the Paradise of Full Light. All of Elgacia, such as the city of Irianor, Mount Philanthos, and Hester Garden, are filled with yearning and praises towards the gods. You will embark on the journey to the last Ark here in Elgacia and discover the true meaning of the Lost Ark. In a past law, Elgacia was reportedly the first region to be created during the development of Lost Ark. Out of the three parts of Lost Ark's story, what made Smallgate RPG choose this aerial city as the highlight of the first part of the story? To me, it looked like Elgacia and Kangol could be a major highlight of the game, so I began developing them. First, above all else, some of you may know that Kangol was once revealed as a video clip before the game's official launch in Korea. Yes, he showed us in Loan 2021 winter. He showed us early development excerpts from like 7 years ago. From that time, apparently, he actually worked on the development for this. Where do I stop? Considering most games develop content in order of release, you might find it peculiar that Elgacia, which gets introduced at the later stages of the game, was developed first. I remember him showing us like the video clips, and like when you go into Kangol, how was it TN who glues together two island pieces. That was created back then, from what I remember. And then like there were other mechs that were also introduced in that very first development, like you ride the rope. What you call those? Yeah, ropes to like go down, and like guardians and stuff. That's where it first came out. Developed from now it's probably like 9 years ago. However, because Elgacia would need complicated animations, cutscenes, and technology, I thought if we finished Elgacia first, we will be able to utilize the technology we established during development for other content development. The features that were created during Elgacia development are objects with various functionalities, various character movements via objects such as ziplines, that's the word I was looking for, and pulling landmasses towards the character. Yeah, exactly. He showed us a video of this, exactly. While developing Elgacia, we were able to expand our scope by learning how to move camera view freely in a quarter view angle of the game. Indeed, this game really pushes the boundaries of what is achievable with quarter view. Like Clown is a good example. Like the maze and stuff. And then Metis Island was also very genius. The way it used the limited vision to give you jump scares. In game scenes that you may be familiar with, such as two gigantic statues putting the swords down and landmasses being pulled, were all created during the early stages of Lost Ark development. By making and testing these scenes, we were able to consolidate the direction for in-game cutscenes and animations. In the end, Elgacia is a highly meaningful continent in terms of both lore and establishing games' developmental mechanisms. In terms of lore, Lost Ark lore consists of 3 chapters, and all the continents disclosed so far belong to the first chapter. Lore-wise, Southfern, Elgacia, and Corzon, which will be added in the future, play a key role in the first chapter. From what I remember, Southfern was like a bit over the halfway mark when it comes to story. And yes, we're still in the first chapter. Still have 2 big chapters left in the Lost Ark trilogy, you could call. Follow-up. Was there any difficulty you experienced when developing? It is difficult to pick one case as everything was not easy. The rest of the continents of Lost Ark, while they each have diverse concepts, are lands rooted on Earth. On the contrary, Elgacia is the highlight of the lore. This is because I wanted to give a visually distinctive look to the continent, and so much effort was put into Elgacia. I wanted to have a different direction in terms of concept design from other earthly continents, even when deciding concepts for a library or a temple for Elgacia. I also made Elgacia exclusive language, indeed, called Elgic. What's it called in Korean? Is it Ella? To give a clear difference between earthly continents and this sky island. Due to this, the volume of the concept design got bigger than that of the other continents. Not to mention that more effort was put in when developing and testing the continent. Yes, they have this separate language in Elgacia. If you go around and look, you'll see inscriptions with obscure letters. And the Korean gamers actually found a way to decipher those letters. And so we know the meaning behind all of the inscriptions. It's like invent posts that cover it. There's also YouTubers that covered that. Follow up. Reportedly, the entire story has been developed for a decade. Is the lore of Lost Ark pre-written to the end? Do you make unplanned changes of the story or concept during development? The general storyline until the end of Chapter 3 is complete. While the overall order and flow of the continents, sea, and other lore updates have all been planned, detailed stories are still being developed by our scenario team. Yes, from what I know, they have planned it out until the very end. And now they're just writing it up, adding details, making it... Yes. Writing it down as we proceed. So far, most of the detailed storyline for Chapter 1 has been decided. Still, time is needed for me to deliver and discuss the story I came up with to the scenario team, and more time for actual development. Yes, while Gold River was sick and away, he still said he would work on the scenario, even from the bed of his hospital bed. So he was still lurking in the shadows, working on the story, even while away. The same process remains for the second and third chapter as well. So many secrets that are yet to unfold exist in the lore, and only a select few members of the scenario team knows the full storyline of the second and third chapters. In reality, much of Smilegate RPG's staff found out the true meaning of the game's title after the Elgacia update. Oh, so it's kept very secret. Of course, there are cases where the storyline changes spontaneously. The overall storyline has never changed, but the importance of certain main characters and the main focus of the story changes as the game updates. Sometimes, some characters get much support from the players unexpectedly, As lore is one of the many factors that consists Lost Ark, sometimes the focus of the story gets adjusted based on the game system, contents, and order of the update. For example, there was much more planned for Black Fang lore. But as content other than sailing content became more important to the game, the focus of the story and the character Black Fang got adjusted a bit. Meanwhile, I was embarrassed to say that I never expected Jiderico to be that popular among the adventurers. After realizing his popularity, his role got bigger in the overall lore. Ah, yes, he does make a reappearance later in the story from the viewpoint of global. And Jiderico does have a big following among female players, indeed. In conclusion, partial portions of the stories change based on the comments of the adventurers, but the general flow of the lore is being updated as originally planned. Lost Ark's extensive lore is delivered through in-game cinematics animations. Glorious Wall, Phaeton, Southfern, and more in early gameplay gave strong impression to the adventurers. Elgacia is about 90 minutes of cutscenes. How were they developed? How did the story come together? What inspired the story creation and the team's development process? Oh, I'm actually curious about this. Usually, you can get to the ending relatively quickly when playing console games. In contrast, the storytelling of MMORPG is conducted long term. For example, you need to spend a lot of time to keep up with Lost Ark's story in real time. Because of this, some adventurers express frustration when story unfolds slowly. My heart sinks at times like this. Because even if I want to show all the storyline at once, it's a shame that I cannot do that. For those of you who have been paying attention to the lore of Lost Ark, I wanted you all to have a special experience in Elgacia, so that your past adventures in Lost Ark will be worthwhile. To do this, all the staff got together and put in so much effort. All of the staff, such as designers, scenario team, cinematics team, graphics, sound, devs, QA, and so on, put extra effort to effectively deliver Elgacia lore to the adventurers. Yes, Gold River once described games as a form of general art, holistic art that covers so many different aspects, from beginning with the development and graphics part to things like physics and architecture, even. And then, of course, user experience designing that. Sound, the cinematics, so awesome in Lost Ark. Indeed, Lost Ark was made with an awareness of all of these things, and that it's very important to create that great mesh where all of these different avenues of art come together to make something great. A fun fact about the studio is that an immense number of people participate in the cinematics meetings. Many monitor the progress, review, and put much effort in bringing up the quality. The whole process does not only entail participation from the scenario team, but also other teams such as combat, sound, etc. For example, when designing L'Oreal's skills and skill effects, our staff needed to understand the concepts in order to come up with results fitting the lore and universe. L'Oreal's skill reminds you of Heavenly Punishment, and his theme song has a sense of awe, but not in a demonic or demon worshipping way. A sense of awe, as in the sublime. The staff's understanding of the universe and lore leads to such lore-fitting creations. So much of the staff are striving to convey the concept into their results. We develop many cinematics animations so that the adventurers can experience the lore in decent quality. Especially as I had high ambitions for Elgacia, I had to request much more cinematics animations tasks. Despite this, the members of the studio were willing to take on the extra work, and they themselves polished the results, saying, a little more polishing for the best outcome. Yes, the Lost Ark development team, as it can be seen from the effort they put in the cinematics and creating the world building, and the music and all, uh, you could see it this way: it's a big waste of resources to build these things because in the end there are like Shift G enjoyers, and even barring those, there are a lot of people who for most people you only enjoy it once and then you'll skip when go and add it again. You'll Shift G on your second stroll through Elgacia, for instance, through the story. And for something that's only gonna be enjoyed once per player, and like the amount of effort that goes into making these things, like probably cost them like half a year worth of resources to build Algacia, maybe even more. You could say that it's not good return in terms of investment, but still, Lost Ark goes this way. And something that Gold River once said comes to mind. He said that you have to waste in order to create romance. He said that during Aloha On Mini of 2021, I think. You have to waste in order to create romance. And he said at one point, there's not enough waste in today's society. All the people are striving for efficiency. Like looking at a lot of Lost Ark players, they try to min-max the game and then end up burning out and not enjoying like the little things, appreciating those. Yeah, that just came to mind. And that's the philosophy with which Lost Ark seems to be advancing. Spending resources, a lot of resources, even if it is just like a few minutes of enjoyment. I'm always grateful for the members of the studio, and I believe their efforts to understand, immerse, and enjoy brought up by the best result. I will keep working with these great members to continuously deliver great quality cinematics and animations. To all of the Western adventurers out there, I would like to thank you all for continuing to enjoy Lost Ark despite the game not being perfect. I'm aware of both the recent community sentiments regarding some inconveniences and the many positive comments for Algacia. I am once again touched and also feel apologetic at the same time. I express my gratitude to all the adventurers who love Lost Ark and will strive to fix other inconveniences as fast as possible. Many discussions are happening between us and Amazon Games, and we will continue to improve the game. With Algacia's angelic theme, many of the raids and bosses have mechanics that play off of light and shadow. How were these ideated and created? What was the creative process? Light and shadow that appears in Kangol is the main theme of Algacia, and it was designed from the concept development stage. It is also a place where both light, absolute good, and chaos, absolute evil, coexist. This concept had a big impact on the designs of Kangol Dungeon. Naturally, there is a mechanic using the shadow in the dungeon. The concept of light and shadow is not only opposition, but also coexistence. Ah, yes, this ties into Kazaros and Arcasia and Petronia. Like they couldn't kill Kasros apparently because of us needing him to be there. Otherwise, the balance would be broken. And at one point, I think Gold River talked about, like, as the story progresses, light and dark will not seem as good and evil as they seem to be. Like, a lot of gray areas will be drawn going into the future. And in the midst of this, all this, the adventurer will be put up to make a choice. So, for instance, Sacria is supposed to be like the good guys. You would think that they're the good guys. They're worshiping the god of order, god of light, and yet they are so bad. Then perhaps like one of the personalities from Petronia might end up being a good person. Although I'm not sure who. Perhaps Echidna. Perhaps. Since it does seem like Echidna will be a very important character going into the future. It's very hard to tell at this point. But yeah, it's the Legion commander that Vicus replaced. She used to be the Legion commander of what is Vicus in charge of in English? Is it greed? Is it lust? Desire. Ah, I see. I see. Yeah, perhaps Echidna, whom we don't know too much about. I mean, because at least the characters we know that are from Petronia, none of them seem to be like that good. After the update in Western Territories, I also heard that many adventurers liked the mechanics because it was not unpleasant. Yes, Kangol is a breath of fresh air after, especially Belshazzar, which has more or less annoying mechs, where one person making a mistake can lead to a raid wipe. As in Kangol, the only mech that really fits that description is the 140 line mech in Gate 4. Everything else can be done by fewer than 4 people. Speaking of the combat mechanics, I want to bring this up. In truth, there were many unpleasant combat mechanics in the Belshazzar Legion raid. Co-op mechanics can be fun, but we used this in rather incorrect ways. We tried to adjust the issues, and Kangol is a culmination of these adjustments. As Gold River, I think even today mentioned that Belshazzar was a mistake. They should have polished it more before releasing it. I mean, they did rush through a lot of raids, because in 2021, because Vulcan, Vicus, Clown, and Brel, both normal and hard mode, all of it was released just in the span of 9 months. They were really trying to push to build on the great popularity that Lost Ark was getting in 2021. The great influx of players in like the March, April, around that time. And it does feel like Belshazzar was a bit too rushed, and some of the mechs weren't polished enough. From the point of view of user experience, like it's just not a good experience, especially the old designs before it was nerfed was really annoying to deal with. And yes, Gold River has repeatedly admitted that those combat mechanics were unpleasant and that was their mistake. On one side, though, it's very understandable because they wanted to combat busing. So by introducing a lot of mechs that require cooperation, it makes it harder to bus content. And at the time, I think it was a big issue. So they designed Brawl with the intent of curbing busing efforts, but it ended up having this side effect, making raids unpleasant to deal with. Dungeons raids created after Kangol are also carefully developed not to tread the same path as Broshaza. Indeed, after Broshaza, it seems that they have learned from their mistakes, and from Kangol and on, all the raids are like superb. That's the one great advantage that Lost Ark has over other games, and also it's problematic too. Like the raids are just so top notch to the point where it's hard to find a substitute for it in other games. And that's why like a lot of people can't leave Lost Ark really. Like a lot of problems are inherent in this game, but the raids and combat are so awesome that you just have to stick with it and grind through the homework to keep playing these awesome raids. I wonder rather nervously if they were delivered as intended. We will try to be careful with mechanics in the future raids and will continue to revamp the unreasonable mechs in Broshaza. Indeed, all the raids from Kangol and on, Voldike and Akan, a lot of it, there is some co-op element, but a lot of it can be done even with a few player members being absent or making a mistake. The Voldike was really good. Akan was really good. Yeah. They definitely have a different feeling compared to Broshaza. Annoying thing about Kangol is some normal attack patterns feel laggy and their timing is different. Normal attack patterns? There are some frustrating aspects about normal patterns in Kangol, namely Gate 3, where Priuna just phases away mid pattern. Like she doesn't finish her patterns. Apparently, it has to do with how much you stagger her. But yeah, for instance, if your a search blade was about to search because you knew that Priuna would stand in place for a specific mech, it can be very smudge when she just teleports away and doesn't care about finishing her own patterns. Sort of stagger bars like Kali. The side steps in Kangol is crazy. Yeah. At the very least for TN, you can kind of get used to it with experience. I mean, all of it you can get used to it with more experience. You just have to get used to it. Surge here and I feel so much pain sometimes. Yes, especially when you push really fast in Kangol. Then you really don't have the opportunity to stack up. So Surge blades will feel very can feel very tilted. Reportedly, Elgacia is the update content that you put most strength in. What is the significance of Elgacia and why is it monumental to Smilegate RPG? Why were players so receptive and excited when it first released in Korea? Because Elgacia update itself was a moment of creating the vision that I've been dreaming for more than 10 years. I dare say that was my best moment of fulfillment. When I rewatched the Elgacia episode, I feel so touched that I cry. And even when it's been a while after I finished developing it, my heart still flutters, throbs, as it did when I first started developing it. Right. Like if you're in his shoes, you started working on this massive project. You have no idea whether it's going to be successful. You only work on it with this dream, and to see it being realized, seeing the game being very popular 10 years later, and seeing like your vision being realized in front of you. I bet that must have been a very touching point. This kind of feeling is not just about the accomplishment from development, it is rather about the connections I felt with the adventurers. When Elgacia first went live in Korea, I was deeply touched when seeing the players' reactions and comments such as, "The adventure I kept on in Lost Ark has not been in vain after all." This was truly an amazing experience for me. I never actually said this to the adventurers out loud, but I have always thought this in my mind. You did great, adventurers. Thank you so much for staying, believing, and enjoying the game for more than 3 years of both good and bad memories of the game. Thank you for coming all this way. To all the Western adventurers out there, I would like to thank you all for continuing to enjoy Lost Ark despite the game not being perfect. I am aware of both the recent community sentiments regarding some inconveniences and the many positive comments for Elgacia. Wait, isn't this from up here? Wait, is this copy pasta? This is the same exact words. Many discussions are happening between us and Amazon Games, and we will continue to improve the game. Many discussions are happening between us and Amazon Games, and we'll continue to improve the game. What is your favorite character and continent? Actually, I did receive this question many times before, but never really gave an answer. It was only when Lost Ark was launching globally in Amazon Games' Western version that I answered for the first time in the live interview. My favorite character is Kadan. I put extra effort when creating Kadan. Multiple character illustrations were drawn for Nineveh and Kadan. In the future, you will have a chance to meet Kadan in different ways. Ooh, we are currently preparing something and I hope you will look forward to it. So, if you've watched the Elgacia story, you'll know that Kadan is related to the halls in some way. And one of the theories is that Kamen is Kadan from another dimension of the cube. And perhaps going into the future, the halls will be very important. Perhaps after finishing fighting the Kazaros crowd, our next enemies might be the halls. Perhaps. Maybe they're lurking in a different dimension. My favorite continent is, without doubt, Elgacia. It means a lot to me. All of the continents have a special place in my heart, but Elgacia is my first love. And naturally, it takes up the largest place in my heart. Elgacia is my comfort zone. At times, I place my character at Arianor just to listen to the soundtrack of Arianor and meditate. Elgacia is not only famous for its lore, but also for its soundtrack. Could you tell us the meaning and background story of its main theme, Sweet Dreams, My Dear? In terms of lore, the lyrics are themselves what Beatrice wants to say to the adventurers. You adventurers have endless support and trust from Beatrice. I hope you can understand how Beatrice feels for you through the lyrics. Additionally, it's my personal message to you all. I mean, this hit us straight in the feels once we learned that Gold River was going to retire because of sickness, and then we saw Elgacia, and then this song popped out. It was too much. What I wanted to say through the song is this: keep on dreaming. I heard this many times when I was young, but as I became an adult, I realized it has been a while since I heard anyone tell me to keep following your dream. While the contemporary world provides more convenience to people with its technological innovations, I believe that many things have been lost along the way. One such thing is passion, as many people compromise with reality in everyday life. In a nutshell, the song holds my small wishes that you adventurers will be able to recall good old memories, bringing back warm recollections of pure youth, as well as making new good memories and dreaming on in Lost Ark. The song was co composed with a composer that also worked on Phantom Nostalgia and Romantic Weapon with me. She expressed my wishes and intentions through the songs so well. Moreover, So Hyung, one of the top vocalists in Korea, recorded the song. She's famous for singing How Far I'll Go in the Korean soundtrack of Moana. You may remember that there's a phrase, crystal melody, in the lyrics. Just like this phrase, So Hyung had a crystal clear voice befitting the lyrics. That is why I wrote the song with So Hyung in my mind, hoping she would sing my song. After finishing the song, I sent a sincere letter to her explaining the meanings in the song, and she agreed to sing the song. She sang incredibly well, and I believe there will be no one else who could have brought the song to life. I hope her voice has reached your heart as it did mine. What do you hope the players take away from the Elgacia story? I cannot wish for more if the adventurers will think that all of the adventures they had in Arcasia were not in vain as they play Elgacia. Moreover, nothing would make me happier if the adventurers will be able to recall a precious piece of their memory at Elgacia through soundtracks such as Sweet Dreams, My Dear or Eleanor in the far future. In your real life, some hardships might find you, but I wish that you will make good choices without regrets in the end. Before Algacia, the main angle of opposition was good, order, light versus evil, chaos, darkness, demons. In contrast, as Algacia lore unfolds, the line between good and evil seems to have become vague. Yes, yes. The original belief that Regulus being the good and Ark being salvation has been shaken a bit. What fate will await the adventurers in the future? Yes, Regulus being absent and not seeming so good and benign. At the beginning, Lost Ark scenario was intentionally rather simple. This is because we believe that the casual players will find it hard to concentrate if we start to unravel the complex stories from the beginning. With this in mind, some scenarios were written in more linear and typical way. But still, we put focus on delivering the gist of the story, such as who Armin, Dirain, and Carmine are like, and also let players remember main allies and enemies such as Nineveh, Azena, Belshazzar, Kakul Sadon, and more. After all, MMORPG is a game, not a storytelling genre. Our plan was to have ice-breaking moments or introductory phase for the players and the game characters first, and then develop the relationship between them step by step. From now on, as the introductory phase seems to have passed, we might be introducing more complex stories. Using cinematics to help players understand the storytelling of Lost Ark easier is still our aim. Until now, the adventurers' biggest goal was saving the world from the demons. From now on, however, an agonizing journey of discovering what it truly means to save Arcasia, and what the Arks really are, is awaiting you adventurers. You will begin to see if the gods that were deemed as absolute good, and you yourself, is truly on the right paths of saving the world, and also start to understanding the real meaning of darkness and chaos that were deemed as the root of evil. The lore of Lost Ark grows along with you adventurers. Please stay tuned to what we have in store. Interesting.
questioning good and evil and understanding what balance between order and chaos truly means. And whether we're walking the right path. What would it mean to save Arcasia, though? Maybe they would put us in a dilemma where we have to. Yes, I think. Yes, I know. I think I know where this is going. Because I think at some point they talked about sacrifice. So saving Arcasia might lead to sacrificing something truly dear to us. And we'll have to put this special thing and the world itself, Arcasia, on a scale and make a choice. Is what I feel where this is going. How does it feel to be closing this chapter of Lost Ark story? What's next? Actually, the first chapter hasn't been finished yet. A true highlight of chapter 1 is yet to come. Elgacia is just the ignition point of the highlight. So, Curzon? The Amazon Games' version will see continuous updates which add the Elgacia epilogue, Plechia, and Voldis. While in Korea, the tempo of Lost Ark's story will pick up pace. More and more secrets will unravel, finally leading to the true pinnacle of the Chapter 1. I cannot wait to deliver this interesting story to all of you global adventurers out there. Meanwhile, I hope you will all enjoy everyday stories in the music box of memories. Added in the July update, you will find the stories of ordinary people, not just special heroes in Lost Ark. As each story was woven by different team members, each story will be unique with their characters and filled with joy in many different ways. Yes, I really like how each music box storyline is different in the feels that they give. Some are just funny, some are touching, some are sad, some are bittersweet. They touch on those different strings when it comes to feels. And they did that in the Lost Ark way with all the music and storytelling and the cinematics. But I still need to finish it. I still have 5 to finish. The Lost Ark universe has been honed for such a long time. Honed. We will continue to do our best in preparing both the universe and lore that complements each other to avoid causing any issues to the great adventures you will embark on, great adventures that you will embark on. I wholeheartedly appreciate your support and love for Lost Ark. All of our staff will do our best not to disappoint you. Thank you very much. Gold River.